Alright, Darkest Night unboxing with these fuckers. Take one! Hey, Internet. We're back and we've got more boxes. So, just like last time, this is the boardroom. And I'm Jazz. I'm still your host with the least. To my right, we have...
Bill.
We have...
Caitlin.
And...
Matt.
You can tell that they are thrilled to be here today.
Super thrilled. Surprisingly,
The amount of excitement in y'all is incredible.
Still working on the coffee.
You make it sound like we record this at 6 o'clock in the morning. Still working on coffee. Okay.
The noon is killing me.
So we're going to do a quick unboxing video for this game from Victory Point Games, designed by Jeremy Linnert. This is Darkest Night, 2nd edition, with the, I don't know, Gucci box? I don't know, it's completely unnecessary to play. It just makes it look really cool, but also the Darkest Night miniatures set, so that they all are all in their plasticky glory. Darkest Night is a
Really
survival
depressing
co-op game.
Survival
It is-
co-op.
They definitely got the title right.
Yes.
It is very dark. It is very
90.
nighty.
Yeah.
It is very. It is a game of horrible things are happening, and you are just trying to mitigate how horrible things get until somebody dies.
Or
So,
you destroy the necromancer.
which still means somebody dies.
It's kind of already dead, though, isn't it?
But, yeah.
Not necessarily.
No, I think that's a lich. I don't
Yes.
think he's
Okay.
a lich.
Oh, so
Yes.
he looked kind of skeletonish when I looked.
No,
at
I
him,
think
so,
he's
yeah.
just.
Is it a hard
He's a natural
CH
person.
or is it a French CH? Is it a leash?
It's a lich.
I think Alicia is the one that the little worm thing.
So here it is. It is a little bit bigger than your average board game size as far as box is concerned.
Heavy.
It is quite heavy. It has
Weighty.
some heft to it. It is weighty. It is both heavy in mass-wise as well as in content because it is a pretty serious title to try and play through. There we go. So on top you've got the two main books. The rules book, which is a rather hefty rule guide.
And for adults only. I don't know what it says on the box, but that is a difficult set of rules to get
this
through.
is definitely not. This is a 14 and up. And just in my opinion, I'm sure it says somewhere on the box what the actual age window is on this
Right.
thing.
And for the wargamer crowd, too, I mean, you've got actual, like,
Yeah, that's
decimal annotated, like,
that's
chapters.
thick, man.
You know, so,
Yeah.
doesn't say on here.
yeah, it's a
But it
bruiser.
is like he said, for the wargamer crowd, it is like the whole here's rule 10, but then here's rule 10.1, here's rule 10.1a. It is very rules oriented. There's a lot of situation specific rules that kick in, things like that. So much so that to even explain all of the character abilities, of which in this game there's 29 playable characters that you can choose from. There's an additional compendium that just explains, and we're not talking about huge pictures here. This is walls of text in very small print that just explain what the different abilities of the characters are. One thing I do like about that, though, is that also means that you could play this and then come back and literally just switch your character,
Right.
and you're going to get a completely different experience when you're
Right.
playing the game. So there are the two decently sized books. Then you have the additional quick reference guide that just explains what all of the horrible things that can hit the board and make your day that much darker, or I guess night. For staying accurate.
Right.
And then on the back, an explanation of all of the additional items that can be picked up and used in the game. This has a lot of RPG feel to it. So as a lot of you enter this zone, new mobs spawn, you've got all these other abilities, you're unlocking new abilities, there's a lot of that going on. So there is that reference
I
card.
do appreciate the cheat sheets though. Not enough
Quick
games have
reference
those.
sheets are
Yeah.
awesome. I don't care if your rulebook has an index or whatever. Seriously, take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and put your quick stuff on. All you publishers out there,
Yeah.
if you're developing a new game, if you're already whatever, and you're not making the little quick reference guide that you can just have for that real quick, just explain it stuff.
Action cards, round cards, all
Yeah,
that stuff. Are
something.
awesome. Yeah.
Just something that makes it a quick reference. The ubiquitous, we also
cool
make
stuff.
other stuff catalog that in every other title I've done this with it, so we'll do it again. The board. This is actually not the board. So this is the second edition of the game, like I was saying. The first edition of the game, this was apparently the size of the board. But Victory Point decided that they would go ahead and double that size, so it's twice the darkness, twice the
Right,
night.
because you couldn't put all the terrible
And it's the
things in
exact
one
same
spot.
board, right?
It's the exact same board. This is just a smaller version of that.
Oh,
It is.
Ooh,
it is-
that could have been fun.
That- It is the exact same board,
There.
but because a lot of the mechanics that go on in this game, where quests and events and the characters and like everything, the blights and everything that I'm putting on the board, I have a feeling that Victory Point probably realized the amount of real estate they had given you was not viable to actually embrace all of their mechanics. So they've doubled the size of the board to this big. Well, it's not big. It's kind of standard size. I think a lot of us are just used to like fourfold and stuff
Massive.
now.
It's a better presentation too, just like the art and stuff. You want people to see
Completely
it.
agree. It is very pretty art. I like it. It is very traditional high fantasy art. You know, the angles are a little off, but everything's a little bit more muted, a little bit more dark, and it's kind of got that Western European high fantasy feel.
Very gothic.
To the art. Very gothic. Very. So there's the board, and then we get into this.
Goodies.
Which, number one thing I have to say about this box that I really appreciate is it is a very, very card-heavy game. I thoroughly appreciate that inside the box they made this blow mold piece that is individually slotted to hold the multiple
Cards.
decks of cards that come with the game. Because trying to do this with where you rubber band everything or do something, try and keep it all, it would just be an absolute nightmare. So here he is, the baddie. We'll just go ahead and start with him.
Yay.
This one is a personal copy, so not my personal copy, but it is a personal copy. It actually belongs to Kaylin right here. So her minifig of the Necromancer, she has painted, and I have to say you did a wonderful job.
Thank
It's a
you.
very good looking Necromancer.
Looks very necro-y.
Well, as good as a Necromancer can
Right.
Yeah.
look, I suppose. So
Right.
you do get a minifig with the game, whereas all the other characters are actually in standees, and like I said, there's 29 of them. He's gonna pop the box on that one, and I believe you've started to paint your miniatures as well, right?
Yep.
So
There's a
all
lot.
of the standees are represented by this separate purchase of all of these minis.
Yeah.
So you don't need these to play because they have the little
You do
cardboards.
get the cardboard representation of each one. It's just
Right.
if you like the three-dimensional
Sure.
the three-dimensional model more than the three-dimensional models can be purchased from Victory Point. I believe it's $49.99.
It's just the
around
characters in that set,
$50,
right?
Just the characters.
and you get another Necromancer.
Okay.
So it is all 29 playable characters and a Necromancer in there. So there's 30 figs in there, but 30 figs for $50
Yeah, it's not
is
bad.
pretty good.
Well, and they're all unique figures too.
They're all unique figures, and it does come with the blow mold organizer in there as well. So, but you do get all the cardboard standees and the clear plastic bases. They are all labeled, so there's all 29.
Not really sure why you need 29 clear bottoms if you're only playing with 4 characters.
That is an
She needs
no.
like 5,
There's
right?
actually an explanation for that,
Okay.
and the reason being is this game has a mechanic to where, and it is likely, your character will die.
Okay.
In that case, in the Necromancer round, you literally just take a second character and bring it into play.
You wouldn't just take the cardboard off and put on another stand?
I don't know. I can also appreciate that
Impossible.
they just overachieve. I like the fact that they send a standee for each individual.
You won't
I
run.
like the plastic base for each individual standee, and the reason being is that pieces like that always tend to end up breaking or getting lost or something. I would hate to have gotten like 5 of them and then you lose 1 and now you're boned. Like,
Okay.
I like the fact that they overachieved.
Sure.
But you are right. You can't play this with 29 players, so I mean, I guess you could, but it'd be crowded.
Well, then the Necromancer wouldn't really have a fair fight, would he?
Well, I mean, life's not fair.
Well, it
What are
also
you gonna
came
do?
with like 8 baggies too.
Necromancers bring friends.
It did come with a lot of extra baggies, which are not in the box, correct?
Right.
So, but it did come with a rather large stack of this size baggie.
Right.
I think it's actually enough to probably put each individual type of token in its own
Probably.
baggie, but there's only like 5 or 6 copies of any given token.
Right. So you
So-
just threw them all together.
Yeah, they all got packed into one bag.
Right.
It is a lot of tokens. I was there when this got opened, so it was 4 or 5 trays of
Yeah.
punch outs
Yeah.
that had to be punched out. Matt was there too.
Yeah.
It was a lot of cardboard that had to
Yeah.
get punched out. But as you can tell, because it was a punch board for all of this, it was a punch board for all of this, it was a
Right.
punch board for all of this. It was quite a bit. But they created a lot of tokens for everything. It's activation tokens, deactivation tokens, it's daytime, nighttime tokens so you can tell if your character's been exhausted. It is clue tokens, it's extra item tokens, it's a lot of pieces. So if you're one of those gamers that likes to have a physical representation for everything in the game, Victory Point definitely went that route because there's very little in this game that's just like you have to remember it. They gave you a token for damn near everything.
Right.
So that's what all this is. It's clues, it's tokens, it's relics, it's everything, and they're all double-sided, so they all tend to serve some sort of mechanical purpose. So you also get the satisfaction of flipping things, and,
Sure.
and it's a lot of activation.
Sure.
And then this is all what they call blights. So this is all of the horribleness that gets injected into the game by
Necromancer.
the baddie there. I do have to say that one thing I like about these, because this is something, they get moved around a lot and put around a lot.
Thick.
Victory Point went with a very, very thick cardboard on all of their stuff, which is nice because it is going to get baggied and it's going to get shuffled around. It's going to get used a lot. I like that they didn't go with a thinner cardboard
Right.
because it would have been very easy for them to make this a mil or two thinner.
Right.
But then you're going to end up with creasing and foxing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I do have to say the print quality, the color saturations and stuff like that,
So it got a nice gloss to it too. Like
they're quite good, and they are glossy, yeah. But I think the print quality is definitely there. It doesn't look
Cheap.
look like they
Yeah.
shorted it.
Doesn't
Like,
look cheap.
it's a little bit more of an expensive title. I think it's about $140 retail for this title. Yeah, which is getting up there. You gotta pull out your
You gotta want it.
Yeah.
you gotta pull the hands out at that point and kind of go.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, after going through the box a couple times now, I think the money's there. I think the quality of what they've produced, I can see the cost. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't find this title somewhere cheaper, but I know from Victory Point Games, this is $140 for the box.
Right.
But, I mean, like, here's a full baggie of custom dice just for the game. You get 10 of those. They are just standard D6s, but they are customized to help maintain the look of the game. And then we get into these stacks of cards. So here are the player boards for all 29 characters.
Front and back.
They are front and back. I do like that they did that. So the back is actually what Bill was talking about with a quick reference guide. So the back of every player card is the actions you can take, turn sequence, so on and so forth. So the rule book actually tells you to take 2 of these, one for the character that you're playing, and then one for a character that's not in play, and you use the
I
back
was
to
just
back.
gonna ask if they're the same on the back.
Yeah.
If they're-
Yeah, all the
Yeah,
backs
okay,
are
good.
identical.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is good. And as far as players are concerned, I'll kind of hand some of these out. You guys can see what some of the options are. It's pretty normal kind of fantasy fare, but with a little bit of kind of religion boiled in.
It's religious heavy, I would say.
Yeah, so, because I think there's an exorcist, a crusader,
Yeah.
Priest.
I think there's a couple of those.
Right.
But then they kind of pulled from multiple mythologies to kind of put this together. So
Here's a steampunk tinkerer.
right, so you have like the Tinker, there's a Valkyrie, and then you have the other standard stuff. You know, the knight,
Right.
the conjurer, the wizard.
Alchemist.
Nymph, monk.
So there's quite a few of these. Well, not quite a few. There's 29 of them because there's 29 playable characters in the game. So very cool, and the art is very solid, and it does have your tracker for grace and secrecy, and there's tokens that go on there and move back and forth. To coincide with each one of the player boards, you have decks of action cards, and I believe it is 13 action cards for each playable character type. So you have all of these, which explain the actions that can be taken by your individual characters, and there's 3 massive stacks.
Or spells.
Or spells, or
Stuff. It can be stuff and things.
The stuff and things and
things,
motions
doohickeys.
and I don't know, safety dances that you can take as any given. Yeah, that right there is the mad stack of playable character action cards. Then you've got the quest deck, because no good fantasy title is ever complete unless you were sent on a quest.
Must be quest.
Must quest. So you've got a pretty healthy stack of quest cards there. You've got the mysteries, which are how you get clues, which is for the in-game mechanic. You watch the play video and you'll see how all of this complication actually starts melding into some sort of thing. So you have the mystery cards, which is a pretty healthy stack. You've got the darkness cards, which are even more horrible. The darkness. Even more horribleness that the necromancer can inject into the game as it progresses. The rather thick event deck, and this is when we get into the tarot-sized cards. In the event deck, these are terrible things that happen to you at the beginning of every single one of your turns.
Not always.
Unless you're in the monastery.
No.
You're just saying they're not always terrible?
They're not always terrible. There's some good ones, maybe like 2
There you go.
out of 50.
So that's another huge stack of cards, and then in here you have the
That's a huge
map
stack of
deck.
cards.
Yeah.
So there's the map deck. Now the map deck, you don't use the whole thing all at once. It's broken up on what style of game you want to play. So there's one that's really physical heavy, so it's a lot of monsters and stuff that spawn. There's one that's really like item and curse heavy.
So is that preset, or does it just depend on how you
It's
draw?
referenced out of the rule book. It tells you on the bottom here, there's a ring. You can see it right there.
Color orbs.
That's got colored orbs on it, and it will tell you use all of the cards where the purple orb is in the top right-hand corner, and so you pull like those 13 map cards, and that's the map deck that you use for that game, and it will re-flavor the game. So it changes it, and then you have the artifact cards, which are items that make you more powerful, but are very hard to get a hold of. So it's a very, very fat stack, but from what I understand, you would have to play this game quite a lot before you would actually see all of these in play. So I'm sure some of it is being blocked by that Darkest Night box, but the other players here will probably tell you it's a lot of cards.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of cards, but they're nice. They are the linen textured laminated cards, like a high-end poker card. They're not that weird glossy, just cardstock.
Right. They're not going to come off
Kind of
wet
material.
fingers.
Right, they're not going
Right.
to bubble and stuff like that.
Right.
It is quite a bit of stuff. If you watch the play video, you'll see all this laid out, and you can see just what kind of table presence it does create. But it is a lot of pieces. It's a lot of moving parts. You're always kind of constantly doing something. But I do have to say the art, the stuff, and all of that kind of stuff is with it. I know it looks like a lot of parts, but I can vouch for the fact that setup time on it isn't as bad as you'd think it would be. And the box organizer does let breakdown happen rather quickly, which is also very, very nice. And it would also appear that Caitlin has already decided what she's playing
The
in
nymph.
our Oh, so
Got it.
there you go. Spoilers. She's playing
Spoilers.
the nymph in the next game.
I already chose my deck too.
So, yeah, it's a lot of parts. It's very cool. It's a lot of art. It says it's a 1 to 5 player game. If you were playing 1, 2, or 3 people, you seriously are going to end up playing multiple characters. 4 is kind of where it's at. 5, I think is totally viable because there is a mechanic to actually increase the cost of certain things if you're playing with 5 players. Solo mode, I think you better really know this game if you're going to try and run solo mode. It's a pretty hardcore version.
Why would you want to play by yourself? Play with yourself.
No friends.
Got it. Okay.
which is exactly the opposite of the goals that we're talking about here before.
And on that note,
And on that note, if you want to see what all these parts are about, you can watch the playthrough video. And other than that, go out there, pop your favorite box, and find some friends, and save the dice. And we'll see you as we lose to this
you gotta be real
necromancer in the
careful with that.
following.
It's got to
video.
go down, not up.
Yeah.
Don't.
That was rolling dice.
And don't aim that at me.
Sorry. Totally messed that up.
Cut.
I was like, what is she doing? No! No! Ah!
Not this way.